Zenkaikon 2025, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Zenkaikon was a multi-genre convention held from March 20th through 23rd, 2025 at the Lancaster County Convention Center and Holiday Inn Lancaster in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. This was a year of big changes for Zenkaikon, and there's a lot to discuss. I have a conflict of interest. I was part of a group that had guest status. Why am I reviewing this convention? I have been attending this con for many years, and I've also been paneling for many years, so it gives me a unique perspective on how this convention has changed and grown over time. And I do want to give a shout out to the guest relations staff. They do everything A-class and made our experience excellent. However, I will not be grading the convention due to this conflict of interest. Let's see how they did. For the good, I thought the badge pickup overall went well. They did have to move badge pickup to the second floor this year, and Thursday it was a little disorganized from what I heard, but it seems like overall the whole weekend people knew where to get the badges. It seems like things went really well up there. Zenkaikon did have a little bit of a badge emergency. Unfortunately, the badges did not arrive in time, but they quickly adapted and had badges printed, fixing the problem within a matter of hours. A lot of conventions would not be able to overcome this issue. It's a credit to Zenkaikon and their staff that they fixed it so fast. When the badges arrived on day one, you could exchange your paper badge for the plastic badge, and all the badges look great this year. I like that for the X-Men 97 panel, they did a moderated QA, and I hope they did them for others, because it really does keep the panel flowing when they have some set questions to start with, then the audience can ask a few other questions. Honestly, when it's just the audience, you do get some low-quality questions, but something I noticed this year, at Zenkaikon, especially in the X-Men panel, the audience were also asking high-quality questions, so I liked how a lot of the QAs went, and I hope they actually applied that style of moderated QA to all the other QAs they had. I liked the idol contest this year. It was well organized. The contestants I saw during the first hour were extremely high quality and they did great acts. The biggest complaint I would say about it is maybe too many acts at 25 and 2 hours was just a little too long. I'd like to see that get shortened up a little, but they had a really good idol contest, at least what I could see. The expanded dealer's room was a big win this year. It allowed people to move around easier. They essentially took the former main events and also made it dealer space. And overall, it worked really, really well. I liked the dealer selection they had. There was a nice wide array of merchandise you could buy. And overall, it seemed like this was a big success. Unfortunately, due to a fire alarm going off, there was an organized evacuation during the event. I thought it went about as well as you could considering the situation. This was my fourth organized evacuation during a convention, and honestly, as long as everybody gets out, that's about the best you could hope for. Turns out there was a dryer issue in the convention center. That caused the problem. We found that out during closing ceremonies. It went about as well as it could. For the bad, what was absolutely terrible? Nothing. For the ugly, what should have been better? The Red Rose Hall had noise bleed issues due to the video game room next door being very, very loud. The staff are aware of this and they are going to work to fix it. My first two panels I did in that room, unfortunately, were affected by that. I would say by Saturday it was less noticeable, but it was unfortunately pretty loud from the video game room next door. I would like to see the convention table swaps all moved to the same row. I know there was justification during closing ceremonies given why they did not do it, but to find the other conventions was extremely difficult in the dealer's room. They were spread out everywhere. It was supposed to be done to allow traffic flow to be better. It did not work. Put them in the same row so they can be found, so they can tell other people about their conventions. That's why the table swaps exist. I'd love to see this fixed for next year because this year's method did not work. Video gaming is Zenkaikon's Achilles heel. The video game room has been a problem at Zenkaikon for a very long time. Multiple reasons why, a lot of it's space related. In 2023, I thought they fixed it. But in 2024, they moved it down to the Holiday Inn. Elevator issues prevented it from returning there for this year. So now in 2025, they brought it back to the convention center space. But there's a problem. The video game room was very generic. You could go to SetsuCon and DerpyCon and see the exact same setup. Those cons, however, added some different things. DerpyCon added a few pinball machines. SetsuCon had rare retro consoles that one of their members had brought in so people could see and play. If you want to spice this video game room up for next year, add 5 pinball machines, add 5 retro arcade cabinets, and then you've got something to talk about. And I will say this, with space now being a premium at Zenkaikon, if this room can't be improved, possibly cut video gaming. It might be time because this space is badly needed by panels, which we'll discuss about more in a minute. This space could very much be used by other things. This room needs improvement. One of the biggest changes this year was moving most of the panels to the Holiday Inn, and honestly, a lot of the rooms there were not adequate for those panels. They were just too small. I will give you one of my personal experiences. I was in one of the panel rooms. I got there early enough to actually get into the panel, which was another issue. I'm sitting in the back. I actually cannot see the panelist. That kind of affects the experience. There was also a very large event going on in Panels 1, which was a large room, but it was very noisy, and the noise was coming into this panel room that you could not hear the panelist. They also need more mics for the panelists in some of these rooms, so you can hear them talk. I walked out, mentioned it to a staffer at the door. They were going to close the door, and I will say this, that room was already warm with the door open. It's honestly not an ideal setup in at least 4 of these panel rooms. The distance to the Holiday Inn is also an issue. Yes, there is a shuttle bus. Yes, you can walk it, but if there would be weather, you would be dependent on the shuttle bus, and according to information that was going around, the shuttles were not exactly going every 15 minutes or half hour as it was advertised. Another problem, you have to plan significantly far ahead if you want to go to a panel with these small rooms. So you might walk down there or take the shuttle bus, and depending on the amount of time you spent, you could get there and not be able to get into the panel, and that is a problem because that will affect attendees' experiences. A few members of my group had talked about seeing a panel the one evening. After looking at where the panel was and the amount of seating in the room, instead we stayed in the room and watched Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. We probably were better off not making that walk, unfortunately, as we probably would not have gotten into the panel. In my opinion, you either make the Holiday Inn all panels rooms or don't have any there and move other content here and take panels back to the main building. If you would at least take tabletop gaming out and make that a panel room and take the Octavia Ballroom and convert that into a panel room, you have a starting point to keep panels in the Holiday Inn. I believe the convention needs to hammer down their map before the hotel block is announced for next year. It'll allow panelists to book the right hotel they need to be in. Because honestly, if you were a panelist staying in the Marriott, you would have wasted a lot of time walking back and forth. You figure panels are normally an hour, you have 15 minutes to set up before and after. You're looking at a 2-hour panel now because of that walk or waiting for the shuttle bus down. If you're a panelist and you know everything's going to be in the Holiday Inn, you can just stay there and save yourself some time and stress. I would really like to see the map of the Convention Center Hotel announced before the hotel block this year. And finally, I kind of wish the concession stand would have stayed up in the lobby on Sunday, and even if it had to offer a really limited menu, it's something that could have been useful. They had already disassembled the concession stand before Sunday had basically started. Overall, Zenkaikon had huge changes this year. Some of those changes have problems. Video gaming and panels, unfortunately, really scream out as space issues. Decisions need to be made about how space is allocated as it is at a premium now. There might have to be events cut from this convention. There might have to be programming limited. I don't like saying that, but now decisions have to be made. I will say the staff were organized for the most part, and the dealer's room expansion did succeed, and that was a big success for the convention this year. As I said earlier, I will not grade this convention as I have significant conflict of interests. I'm looking forward to returning to Zenkaikon next year, and thanks for watching.